when someone passes away, our first natural instinct is we will go and see what their last words are on their Instagram, on their LinkedIn, on their Facebook. Like, what was the last post? And if they died unexpectedly, it's very eerie because it's like, whoa, they didn't know. Anybody who's experienced the death of a loved one will know that it will change your life completely. We want that place to be where people go to and see what your last was. And those moments that they really do miss someone, they get to hear from them one more time.
What's your future? What do you see happening in this death tech space for us? Welcome to the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. If you ever asked, how do I protect myself and those I love if something unexpected happened to me? You're in the right place. I'm your host, Niki Weiss, and together we'll explore how to protect yourself in a world where both your physical and digital legacy leave a lasting impact. And welcome back to another episode of the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. I am super excited today about our guest. It is Estrella Quiroz. And Estrella, she's not just a life enthusiast, but she is the founder of Last Farewells. So Estrella, welcome to the show.
I'm so happy to be here. This is my people. Anybody who loves legacy, dying, death, and also living. I love talking to all of you.
Live fully, die ready. I mean, you and I are really on this mission to take the
1000%.
scariness out of this, or this taboo topic. Why do you think it's so hard for people to talk about it?
I guess it's just something so morbid, and also just something that doesn't seem possible until it actually happens, to the people around you. But I think obviously anybody who's experienced the death of a loved one will know that it will change your life completely. And not just like in the sense of like, okay, that person's gone, but you start reevaluating, am I happy in this career? Am I happy in this relationship? Am I doing what I want to do? Life is short. So I personally think you and me live life because, we've experienced the grief. We know that it's short. We know what's the point of being scared to go for our dreams if we know that tomorrow's not certain.
Not certain. I mean, both of us, well, I'm going to let you share your story, right? Because it both started losing a parent. So tell us a little bit about how you got to this death tech space and your project.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up the daughter of immigrants. My parents were from Nicaragua, so they immigrated over, and I was born and raised in Dallas. We didn't have much money, so I was always very determined, like type A personality. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get a scholarship. I'm going to get a job, help my parents. And then my dad got deported when I was 17. And so a year later, he called me on my birthday, and I was mad at him that day, so I didn't answer. And that day, I just remember looking at my phone, and he's calling me, and I chose to decline 3 times. And then 3 days later on 11/11, he literally passed away, and we didn't find out until a day later. And so to me, that was the first death of someone so close that absolutely shocked me the way it happened. It being so unexpected. He was only 50 years old. He was walking off a bus and he collapsed, and then he died alone in the hospital. And so it absolutely changed everything for me. That death is definitely what began. There's a quote that says, "We all have 2 lives, and the second one starts when you realize you only have one." I truly believe that my second life started at that moment when I was 18, because it was just a death that I was not ready for, a death where I still had to make amends with my dad, and forgive, but also like, go see him and visit him. And I didn't get the chance to. So that's the first step that started it all, with just the one I experienced that changed my life.
It changed our lives, right? I mean,
Yeah.
death changes us in so many ways. And at first I get maybe that's why people are so afraid of it, because people are afraid of change. But you were able to take your experience and turn it into a gift that you're giving back to people. So talk to us about Last Farewells and how you built out your project with this
Yeah.
memorializing people's messages.
Absolutely. So after my dad passed away, obviously, like the day he passed away, I'm like shocked. I'm trying to pick up the phone and call him. Obviously, no answer. I then find my voicemails and I see that he had left me 3 voicemails. So in 2 of them, he sings me happy birthday. And in the third one, he says, "Hello, I hope a million angels look after you. I love you so much. This is your dad speaking.
Oof.
Things are going to change soon. You'll see. Bye." And again, it was such a miracle because he didn't know he was going to pass away. And I'm just sobbing. I'm sobbing and I'm crying, and I'm just thinking how grateful I am for these voicemails. My classmates raised money so I could go back to go to Nicaragua. I never left the country. I go to Nicaragua for the first time ever. I see my dad in the casket. I say goodbye to him. And I make a promise to myself after that. I was so focused on school and grades and academics that I wasn't focused on what was really important, which was people, memories, joy. And so that day, I wrote on the way back from this funeral, I wrote a letter to myself and I vowed that I was going to change. And I did. And I went to university. I immediately signed up for the first study abroad program. I took out student loans and credit cards to afford it. And after the programs ended, I would backpack. And so by the time I graduated university, I had changed my major to tourism and hospitality, and I was able to see 40 countries. And because of my travel experience, that, obviously started from the concept of my dad decided I got to go live life. I was able to get an internship at a travel company where I met my CEO, Troy. Troy is an incredible man. He's twice my age, but Troy had the initial idea for this company called Last Farewells. And so he had been thinking about this company idea since the 1980s. And when he heard the story about my dad's last voicemail, obviously we connected so much. A few years later, we lost touch. I went on to go do other jobs, but when we reconnected and I was just catching up with him, he offered me the position of being the co-founder of Last Farewells and reviving, this project he had initially started and making it my own and telling my story. And at the time, I was like, I never considered entrepreneurship, but I looked back at my life for like the last 7, 8 years after my dad died and how much life I had lived, how much memories I made, but it all came from that dark, dark point of sadness, of grief, of death. And that's the only reason why I was able to live so much life. So then it was like a epiphany moment of like, oh my gosh, this is exactly where my life was meant to be. I was meant to be a life enthusiast in the death industry. I had traveled to over 50 countries. I had celebrated his birthday. I, made time for so much joy. But now I'm like, I got to bring this energy to the death industry. So that's how I initially got into Last Farewell. So it wasn't even my idea, but it definitely was meant for me. And now when people hear my story about my dad's last voicemails, they always think that it was my idea. But the cool part is that it literally found me. I didn't even go looking for it.
And for many founders, that's how it works, right? Is that we have a personal story, and that personal story takes us down this journey of not just entrepreneurship, but you and I, we're looking to change the conversation around death and dying to make it, celebratory in a way that to honor your father. I mean, the fact that you were able to take these 3 voicemails. I mean, how many years ago now is your father passed?
It's about to be 12. It's on 11/11. It'll be 12 years, which is insane because I can't believe it's been that
You're all grown up.
I am, and it's very relevant to this day because I got really lucky. Every birthday that passes, I can listen to his voice singing me happy birthday. So my birthday's on November 8th, which is coming up soon, and I get to listen to this last voicemail. And then 3 days after that is always going to be his death anniversary. So my birthdays are always definitely a moment of reflection, and I'm always trying to make peace now. And is there someone I need to forgive in my heart? Am I living the way that I was? I made a commitment to myself to live. So I definitely think that though it's been 12 years, every year, especially on my birthday, which is super important to me, it's always that reality check of like, wow, what a gift that I have.
Well, talk to us a little bit about what exactly is Last Farewells and how does the app work?
Yeah, absolutely. So Last Farewells, it's an end of life planning platform specifically for your emotions. We want people to create and schedule last letters, videos, audio messages that are then scheduled for future moments that they may miss, like birthdays, weddings, or even just upon death. And so after the person passes away, all of these messages will get delivered at the timing that you set. So we have, for example, someone with terminal cancer create a video for his son's high school graduation, another one for his son's birthday, another one for his son's future wedding, one for his wife's anniversary. Little moments that that person would miss you in the future if you weren't here. So you're basically creating a gift for them that just gets delivered later. And it's also delivered just in case. A lot of people think that you need to be elderly or dying to do this, but honestly, we like to call it life insurance, but for your emotions. So it's something you do just in case. So the last messages is the integral part of our platform. But we've also built out a memorial page that the user can create before they pass away. And this is very different from memorial pages that you see afterwards because it's always written by the family member or a loved one. But it also takes away the essence of what your story was. So when we created it to look like kind of like a Facebook page in a way. You have your profile photo, your cover photo, your self obituary, but you also have your last photo album, your last music playlist, and we're building out the features for a last bucket item and a last bucket list, and also a charity fundraiser of your choice. So you can pre-designate where you would want any funds to get donated. So this is our way of letting people tell their life story in their own words. And so after the person passes away, all of this gets released. So this is essentially someone's last words, last favorite images, so that way you're not choosing like the terrible image from like your Facebook profile photo from 2009. This is just a way to have a little bit more control and also help your family too, because they're going to be struggling writing your obituary. So it's helpful doing it and you leaving behind the way you want to be remembered.
And that's what we try to do. Part of this podcast and building out a final playbook is to start planning and having those conversations and being able to use tools just like last farewells for people to start thinking about what is that legacy, those messages, the images that they want to leave behind. I mean, you have a digital footprint already out there. Don't let Meta control it, right? To be able to curate what those last poignant moments and who you want to
Yeah.
listen, want to receive them.
And also, like, when someone passes away, our first natural instinct is one, shock, but also most of the time we will go and see what their last words are on their Instagram, on their LinkedIn, on their Facebook. Like, what was the last post? And if they died unexpectedly, it's very eerie because it's like, whoa, they didn't know. They were just out doing something normal and they died. So for last farewells, the memorial page specifically, we want that place to be where people go to and see what your last was, because there's an option for one last message that everybody sees. So it's a 2-minute message that you can say if you're watching this, I'm gone, but I love you, this and that. Here's my advice. So that itself is the digital footprint that like you can leave behind, and it becomes the last place that people will look and show like what you wanted them to really see. And then the messages, they're private messages, so they get delivered to the recipients, and those recipients may share them out. But at the end of the day, you have the choice on how private or public you want to be.
I mean, for most people, they they don't want to make those public announcements. They really want them to be private messages. Maybe a parent who is, going through a cancer treatment and knowing that their time is limited and they might have multiple children or multiple family members that they want to leave more personal messages than just one big, "Hey, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Thanks for the party." I mean, I find it fascinating right now, like what's been trending on social media, specifically on TikTok. I'm thinking of that there are some people that have become, I guess, influencers, that they have hundreds of thousands of followers based on their diagnosis journey. So they will start to, right? They'll start to document on these different platforms, social media platforms, from diagnosis to death. And it's so, like you said, eerie. All of a sudden, I get a message that says, "Hey, if you're seeing this, I'm dead." And it's a little bit of a shocker, but to be able to have more of a personal opportunity to hear what, somebody was thinking, and what their
Yeah.
relationship meant to me, I think would really
Oh,
be
absolutely.
a keepsake.
It's definitely, I don't think people understand really how, in terms of the content, and how much media we're consuming, anything that has something to do with someone's death is more often than not always viral. It's always circulating. And so I think the people who are documenting their journey, one, I think they're very smart, because at the end of the day, like, it can bring in opportunities, it can bring in a way to secure funds or opportunities for your loved ones who are going to get left behind. So I really applaud those people that are documenting it, because at the end of the day, like, there's not much you can do with a diagnosis, but you can inform others, educate others, and also just find ways to create more joy for you and your family during these hard times. And what we've seen with last messages, before we released our platform, when we were building it, I created a last message series on Instagram, and I would post examples that I found, on the internet of people who've already like left last messages. And so one of them, we had multiple of them go extremely viral. One of them hit 20 million views of a dad listening to a last message that his son, who was in the military, left behind. And the dad was obviously distraught, but it got so much views and engagement. The other ones were examples of voicemails that people found. Um, and so it just goes to show you that there is so much curiosity to understand what is someone's last words. There's market opportunity in this, for this to be like a place where, okay, these people left behind messages, by accident in most cases. But imagine if it was much more intentional. People would get closure. People would hear the "I'm sorry's," the "I love yous," the "thank yous," and those moments that they really do miss someone, they get to hear from them one more time, rather than it just being like, "Hey, I found a WhatsApp message and it says, going to the grocery store, I love you, bye." Or like, "Hey, I just want you to know the impact you made on my life was so immense. I love you so much. And, keep going, keep chasing your dream. Don't get scared. I'm always watching you." So there's two types of messages. And I honestly got really lucky with the message my dad left behind, even though he didn't expect to die. But I always do wonder, like, if he knew he was going to die, what would he have also said?
Do you think that he knew, like, there was an unknowing that he wasn't going to be here, and that's why he was so, like, persistent in leaving you those messages? I'm getting a little
I
woo
have
woo, I
no
know,
idea.
but it's just like it's
No,
gnawing at
no.
me.
Honestly, I have no idea. Perhaps I've heard that case where sometimes people will say things and it's like not that you fully know, but that you like. Let me just say this just in case. And like that goes back to full circle, I guess, to my co-founder and how he had the idea for Last Farewells. He had a friend who was on a ski trip, and during the ski trip, he wrote postcards to his mom and some other people. And then on the way back from the ski trip, he got in a car accident and he passed away. And so during the funeral, those few days after, the mom received the postcards that the son had just
Oh,
mailed out,
wow.
and they said words that she had never heard from him before. And so I also heard a similar story. My dad's brother, he they crossed the border from Texas going in Mexico going into Texas, and he drowned in the border crossing. My dad's brother when he was 17, and my mom was telling me the story of he did not want to go. He did not want to cross that day. He's like, no, I'll go another day. I don't want to go that day. But they made him cross, and he ends up dying. But right before he did, he wrote and wrote and wrote letters to the girlfriend, to the mom, to other family members. And so she shared this story with me a year and a half into Lost for Wells. I said, what? So I think there is some sense of like, I don't know why, but some people maybe do have a sense like, let me just make peace or let me say this. And at the end of the day, for me, I personally, I believe in God, and so I do believe that God will grant miracles for people, especially give these types of gifts to people who really will need it in the future.
And just how to inspire people to leave those messages. So what do you think is the hardest part of people thinking about? So I'm saying thinking about death and dying, right? So for many people in many cultures, they feel that if I talk about death, if I think about death, then it's going to happen. Like that superstitious. In
Yeah, that's
Judaism,
my
we call
brother.
it. Oh, is that your brother too? It's
Yeah,
like,
he's
oh, I don't want
refused
to
to make
talk
a
about it
last
because if I
message.
do, wait. So your brother is like you're on the
One of
opposite.
my
So you
brothers
and your
just,
brother are on the opposite sides of the coin.
and it's funny, Rob, we both lost our dad, but he definitely did not want to make a last message. It's not for everyone for sure, because it's kind of like, oh, we're going to jinx it. I just look at it more as preparedness, obviously. And I know in different cultures, you were saying about the cultures.
Oh, I was saying like in Judaism, we use the term, don't give yourself a kinahura. It's like, don't, like if you say it, like, and that's, when people start knocking on wood, like don't say it because you'll have to like knock on wood and do all these, like throw salt over your shoulder and stuff. Very superstitious. But from where I sit is like, no, say it, like say the words. So you like demystify it. You take the voodooism out of it, the taboo topic out of it, and it becomes more empowering. So is it to date your brother still won't talk about it?
It's not that we won't talk about it. It's just that my brother's the opposite of me. He does not have a digital social media footprint at all.
Okay.
I document everything. I think it's just definitely a preference of like what, I think for some people it's like, you know what I said in this lifetime. You don't need to hear from me anymore. I do think though, like I think things change once you start getting married and have kids. You start thinking beyond like, oh, like why would I leave a message? And it's not really for, sometimes it's not for yourself. Sometimes it really is because, just like you would want to leave life insurance or want to make sure they're financially secure, they're going to be crying for you on big days like weddings and birthdays and graduations and random Tuesdays. So if there's a way that you can help and keep them on the right track, I think for me, what I saw was really inspiring was, people creating messages, reminding them like, hey, don't, like, if they're struggling with sobriety, like, hey, I know I'm gone, I know you're gonna struggle, but keep going, like don't go back these ways, like stay on the right path, like you're doing good. And so I just think that like we have the opportunity of a lifetime, honestly, to just help someone else in the future. I think that's the part where maybe you don't want to plan for yourself, I get it, but maybe you do it for someone else, or maybe you help someone plan. Maybe you don't want to create a last message, but why don't you go help your mom or your dad or your sister, someone who you would miss personally, and go help them create it. And I think it's like a selfish act, but it's a great act to be selfish in, because and that's what I did before I ever made my own last messages. I actually got my entire family besides that brother on board. So I have all of them. I have last messages. I don't know what they say, but I have them from my mom and my grandma and my siblings, just in case anything happens.
So today, if somebody is like inspired, they might have just gotten a terminal diagnosis or they, realize that they have health issues and they don't want to miss the moments. Or they might have a parent who might have like on early onset memory care issues. If they wanted to get started with a last farewells account, What is your recommendation for them to like just start getting organized and how to use the platform?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, step one, of course, knowledge. You know it exists. So it's one of those things that it's very easy to put on for a later date. But I would say start with creating the free account. It's free. We want to make it in 100 plus languages. Right now, it's only available in English. But on lastfarewells.com, you can make your free account, and we allow up to 6 free messages. So 2 free letters, 2 free videos, and 2 free audio messages that you can schedule, and then a basic memorial page that you can edit. So I think just by even just creating one message, though, I think it's a great start. And sometimes for some people, it's very hard to think about the last message of like, what do I want to say if I were to pass away? That's the public last message on the memorial page. But for others, I would encourage you to, okay, hey, if you can't even think about death or don't even want to go that route, go and literally just record a happy birthday message for someone that you love, and that's it. You don't have to say I'm not here. No, you just say, hey, I just want to tell you one more time, happy birthday, I love you, and sing to them. And it's a 15-second voice recording or video recording, whatever you choose. And I think that those are the easiest. Those are the most joyful. And I saw that with when I helped a stage 4 terminal cancer patient. He was struggling with this first concept of like, this is what I want to say if I pass away. So I said, you know what, scrap this. Let's make some for your son. And he got so excited. I'm like, why don't we make one for his future wedding? And so he's like, oh, should I put on my suit jacket? And I said, yeah. So he puts on his suit jacket and he's like, oh, let's do it from my son's room. The son is only 14. So we go into the room and he's like, hey, Nick Jr., happy wedding day. I'm in your room. Look at it, blah, 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 blah. And so it was super cute to see the message how excited he got. And same with, the wife. And he's like, oh, I think your favorite ice cream's in the fridge. Let's create a birthday message and put a candle in there. So there's little moments that you can make easy messages to start. And then, of course, as you start thinking about the long term of things like, hey, what do I really want to say? You have that opportunity. But the good thing I just want to remind everybody is that this is never, you're not sharing this right now. Like, this is not going to be shared. So you can always delete, you can always re-edit, you can always add people, you can always delete people. Like, you can always delete these messages, but it's always good to just have something as a backup.
Because life is indiscriminate. You just never know. You never know
Yeah.
when life, right? You just never know when life is going to happen and you might not be here tomorrow. So why not get those messages out? I mean, talk about saving time in therapy, to be able to know, oh, dad really did love me. Or, you know, where's the password? How about just that? Like, because I'm so about where are the
Absolutely.
passwords in your cryptocurrency, where are the seed phrases? Seed phrases
No, and
and
imagine, we live in such a world of like that people like love signs. Oh, I saw this and I thought of my dad, and I saw this and I thought of, but imagine like, oh man, it was my birthday. I wish my dad was here. And then bam, you get an email saying your dad left you last voicemail message. Or last message for your birthday? Do you want to open it? I think it's just things like that it's like, oh my gosh, like I just wished for this. And then it can seem like a miracle is granted. And I just think that it's really, also I want to preface this like not everybody's going to be open to the idea of receiving last messages. And so on Last Farewells, we don't shove it in your face. We just tell you that it exists. And if you choose to open it, you go onto the account and you go into your farewells inbox. And that's where the message will sit for a year. So we always want to give the person their option to open it when they're ready, if they want to open it. So that's something very important with our platform design. And just like we know people have these voicemails that we've heard that they still haven't opened to this day because they're disappointed of what it might say, or they just don't know, or they're not ready. But I think this way, that way you just know it exists and you have the option. So
that's wonderful. Well, listen, this has been an amazing conversation. And just, you and I being in the death tech space, and we're not alone. There are other people that are building solutions and platforms and options for people to make their plans today. And Last Farewells is just one of the many that are being launched. What's your future? What do you see happening in this death tech space for us?
listen to me. If you're listening to this and you're considering building, please join us because this is the least competitive industry. And that's actually really sad to say. Competition is great because it shows you're building in the right direction. But I just don't think there's enough companies building in this space. I think current ways of doing things are super outdated. And it's extremely sad that, people are still suffering at the hands of like how outdated end of life technology is, which is crazy because death is the thing that is certain in this life. So I definitely think that anybody who with an idea should start building, should get in contact with us as well. join the collective because it's such a supportive group. Everybody has a mission. Everybody has a story on why they're doing this. Like, you meet the most passionate people in this industry who are really building, not just like for money, but to building with purpose and for
We're on a
the
mission.
real like genuineness of helping. Yeah. So I definitely, and also like, this is not like nonprofit work as well. Like, these, like, the death industry is booming, especially after COVID. We saw 100% increase in death businesses. It was, people like saw death so differently, erratically, and it was just became so much more imminent. And now I think with the trends that are moving forward is that personalization, and people want more personalized funerals. They want more personalized ways of grieving. They don't want the cookie cutter textbook, way of doing things that it was. People are more open to dialogues. And so I have many ideas in this industry. Last Farewells is just the start. But I also think that it's going to take a village of people supporting each other, because even if you and I were building the exact same product, that's fine. We'd still be friends. And you know what? It'd actually be help, because like, you're going to attract a different demographic than me. I'm going to speak to, like, some people are going to resonate more with me. Some people will resonate more with you. And at the end of the day, that's great, because there's so many different types of people around the world that we just need to reach as many of them as possible.
There are ways to memorialize the lives that we've lived today. And I think Last Farewells is a wonderful place to start, just to start documenting as well. And,
Yeah.
for the My Final Playbook, communication is a big part of building out a final playbook, making sure that you're communicating with people your thoughts, your wishes, and your dreams for them from beyond the grave. So with that, how can people find you, Estrella? You're a super rock star on Instagram already. So tell us best place for people to find you.
Yes, follow us on Instagram. It's at Last Farewells app, and I'm documenting the founder journey of building this crazy company. And also just like, education is the most important thing, and I think content creation is a way for any business to level up. So I really enjoyed documenting the process, and seeing there. So go on Last Farewells app. We're on LinkedIn as well. We started on TikTok, but more active on Instagram. But you will see my face, and eventually it'll grow up to be its own thing without my face needing presence. As we get more users and as we go for the investment. So definitely at Last Farewells app, and yeah, I'll be authentic and transparent about the journey and building a tech startup in the death space. And something that I just know that is truly going to help people grieve, because I always like to say Last Farewells to me is one of the greatest gifts that you can leave behind, because it also showcases that you could have nothing in the world. Like, my dad had $0. He died literally with holes in his shirt, and he left me a 16-second message that absolutely changed my life. It inspired me to travel, it inspired me to live, it inspired me to start this company. And so I just think that he would have never imagined the impact that this voice memo had, having $0 in his pocket. So if you don't think you like have anything worthwhile to leave in an estate plan or trust, that's fine. But your words are definitely going to be so much more impactful
There's
than you think they
value.
are.
There's so much value in the words that we leave behind. They're priceless. They're priceless. So don't lose that opportunity to
1000%.
leave.
Yeah.
Estrella,
Yeah.
so
And start, hey,
much.
yeah, go check out My Final Playbook to support the journey. I'll support the women founders. We care.
Women, we are. And with that, thank you so much. And we'll end here. Thank you for listening to the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. I hope this conversation inspired you to take control and plan for the inevitable to protect yourself and those you leave behind. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter at digitallegacypodcast.com. Remember, life is full of surprises. What happens after you die shouldn't be. So keep your passwords safe and your playbook up to date.